Hi, everyone. I want to welcome Barbara Gregusova. Did I get it? Close.
Yes.
All right. For taking some time to chat with me today about season 12 of When Calls the Heart. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with an interview that just happened this past weekend. People Magazine interviewed some of the leads of When Calls the Heart, and they were asked to give 3 words to describe the season. And interestingly enough, Pascal Hutton, who plays Rosemary Coulter, chose as her first word costumes. So, why do you think that Pascal chose the word costumes?
Okay, there can be a number of things, but definitely season 12 was very challenging for us. But there is also one thing which they didn't air yet. There is a one episode
Okay.
which maybe she could imply that one as well. But there's definitely lots of costumes we didn't seen before. And there is lots of, I would almost say like, I mean, everybody's saying like a new era, right?
Right,
So
right.
Um, yeah, we had to definitely stock up on pieces which we didn't have in our, storage or stock, or they were basically non-existent. So,
So you've been in 1920s before, but it felt like you said, this is a new era and that we're really starting to expand Hope Valley outside of just the normal types of costumes that we've seen in Hope Valley before. So when you got the word that maybe some of that outside influence was going to come into Hope Valley, how did your process start in trying to make that happen?
well, it's funny because first thing which comes to my mind is budget.
Yeah, always.
I mean, like you work with the same budget like every season, right? But as soon as, like it gets, a little bit more elaborate, you have to account for money, right?
Okay.
So to make it happen, there was definitely discussion like, what is it going to take, right? Um, so that was one thing because we didn't like what is happening this season. Like we never saw those costumes before, especially like we had so many backgrounds dressed in costumes which you cannot rent in Vancouver. You cannot purchase them. Like they are basically, they don't exist, right? So we had to have like all the scenes which have special background. They were specifically fitted for those scenes and dressed. And, it was a combination of few pieces which we had and then new pieces which we bought and then reconstructed them. And yeah, no, like it was a lot of work. And also, like let's say 1920s dress, if you want to buy it a period, it can go anywhere from, I think it's like $500 and up.
Wow.
There is dresses which I don't know, I don't want to say wrong number, but like yeah, it's really depending what you are looking at. I think there was even dress for like $10,000, which
Oh,
we were not planning to buy it because we
yeah.
don't have budget, right? But it's just like as soon as you want something historically accurate, it it costs money, right? Because it's vintage piece, and if you want to have that look, you have to figure out how to do it for less, what we can afford, but still have the same outcome, or as best outcome as we can get for what are our resources. So hope that answered the question.
Yeah. Yeah. So then how do you balance? Because I know we have several new characters that are on this season, and some of them have been on for several episodes. Some of them may only be for a couple. So when you're trying to budget out the new characters that are coming in, plus you have your returning cast, how do you juggle determining how you're going to budget out, making sure that your lead cast has what they need, but then also you've got all of these new characters coming in?
I will put it this way: the budget for Van the Heart is really in my head.
Yeah, yeah,
So, so it's really about like for let's say our reoccurring characters.
yeah.
If we see something what we know there's a potential for it, we just get it.
Hmm.
And like we don't buy things which are, you know, expensive, right? Like let's say the dress which I think there was one question, the dress which Erin wore
Yeah.
as Elizabeth, which ended up actually on a bunch of like, art.
Yes.
So So
This
that
is
dress,
this is the dress that she wore for the horse scene, right? Where she's riding side saddle. Okay, tell
yeah.
us about that.
So that dress, I went shopping to a mall where I normally don't go in Vancouver, and there was one store, Susie Shear, and I just went there and I was just looking around, and in a sales section there was this dress. It was damaged. It cost $30. Their their Visa card, like their machine didn't work, so I couldn't pay with my Visa, and I didn't have any cash. So I'm calling my dad, and I'm like, because he was coming back, and I'm like, I need some cash. Can you pick some up that we can get this dress? And I didn't, there wasn't a place for it yet. But like if you see something which is going to work and is the right style, like I always just get it because I know we will find a home for it, or there will be a scene we can use it for. So, and surprisingly, Erin's character this year ended up in lots of dresses, which I didn't expect it. And then it just becomes a collaboration with me and Erin and the script, right? Like I find something and we are like, oh, like where can we fit it in? Or, oh, maybe she should wear a dress for this. Or, and sometimes I forget not like I forget what I have, right? But like sometimes Erin is just like, what about that one, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
so I pick up on like so I pick up the pieces which I have in mind what I can do with them, and then it's really about finding the placement or what the writers write where we can use it.
So that's similar to, I remember listening to your interview with Edify, where you talked about having a dress for quite a while for Opal, and then it was yellow, the yellow one for the
Oh
party.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also you had that Jada's dress for Allie for the dance was size 12. And so you worked your magic there with a dress that you had for a while, and you're like, let's make this one. So talk a little bit about, that more where it's like I might have something that's back there for a while, or I have to kind of rehem it from a size 12 down to Allie size.
I mean, I actually had to do that, or we had to do that because I don't usually do that part. It's just my idea to do it.
Yes.
It's funny because okay, when I worked with Candice Cameron Bure first time,
Yes.
there was a dress which was size 12, and she's size 0,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and everything has to go through approval. So I had to pin it twice. So I pinned it on her for the perfect picture where you could hide all the fabric. And then we had to repin it again for the alterations. So, but it was like the perfect dress for, again, for the scene, right? So in this scenario, and I think I said it at the interview before, I'm not really sure if I knew about the birthday party. I maybe heard about it
Yeah.
from my little spies. Um, so so there was a dress, actually, this one we found in Anthropology.
Right.
And yeah, it was just too big, but it seemed like the perfect dress for Allie.
Yeah.
And because you just cannot buy the fabric, right? Like it's usually, for me, it's always about the fabric because you can reconstruct anything, but getting the fabrics, it's so hard these days,
Hmm.
especially with like a nice detail or it doesn't look cheap, right? So even like Susie Shear dress, right? Like it was like perfect pink for Elizabeth and it had beautiful flower detail. And then we had to alter it, fix it up, add a belt, and I think we changed the sleeves on it too,
Hmm.
like to make it, for 1920s, to make it work for us. But like there is pieces which you can buy these days, which are inspired by the period, right? So it's just about being in a luck to finding those pieces, really.
Well, and I look at some of the things that you do. Really study the skirts and all of the details. And looking back, because I do a lot of studying the periods, and we don't have fabrics, we don't make fashion now like we did back then with all of the details. This is something that I noticed. And I'm looking at the skirt that you did with Elizabeth, which was episode 4, and it is in the schoolhouse, and she's teaching the children to dance, and then she's dancing with Nathan. and it has all of the buttons along the bottom of it. And I don't even know what you would call it, but the crisscross. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking the details that go into that. And I think you mentioned that that might have been one of that one took quite a bit of time. Is that true? Is that the
Yeah,
one?
I don't know if it was originally a horse skirt, which means the riding skirts were always cut, with multiple pieces than
Yeah.
like the regular skirts. And I know we didn't use this skirt for maybe, if not more than one season.
Hmm.
So like there was a time where we couldn't use it just because, um, yeah, like it wasn't altered yet, right? So, and this year we altered it, or maybe I'm not sure if we started altering it last year. That's one thing I don't remember because I'm
Hmm.
not 100% if we didn't use it yet last year as well right now. But it's definitely like one of my favorite skirts because of the fabric,
Hmm.
because it just feels very like handmade because
Yeah.
it's like pink and then it has blue stitching, but it looks almost like it's not machine stitch. It looks like it's like, hand stitched.
Hmm.
So it's just beautiful fabric. And so, and it's just different, right? Like you don't really do combination of pink and blue much. So,
Okay, so combinations, this is something that always comes up in threads, and everybody always wants to know, is Barbara matching outfits among different characters? So do we take a Nathan in in that particular scene and match with an Elizabeth in that scene?
oh yeah, like it's all, there's lots of thought going through that process. I mean, it's funny because you start shooting like the episodes, right? So we shoot 2 episodes per block. And when you are doing the lineup, which is basically, okay, we can look at it 2 different ways. So, lineup is basically all the costumes, which we would, let's say, if today's a Monday, then those are the costumes you will be shooting Tuesday. So it has to be done, ahead of time, right? But as soon as we start using the costumes, it starts to be very difficult for me to start matching things
Okay.
because then we have costumes in use,
Mm.
so
Mhm.
there is lots of like back and forth in my head, and then we have a continuity program which has the pictures, and then I'm like, if we don't have the costume on a truck in a spot where I need it, I'm like, okay, so who is wearing what? Because I have to kind of track every actor with another actor in every scene you've seen them.
Mhm.
And then, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There was a scene this year which I'm like, how did I miss that? But I'm not going to tell which scene it was because I'm not sure if that aired. I have a
Okay.
feeling it did. But there was one scene with a new character, and I was like, okay, I think it's okay. I think it's fine. Maybe nobody will notice except of me.
Well,
But
we'll be looking now.
yeah, like there is all these like sometimes it's intentional, like like maybe the girls will be all, I will make this up, shades of yellow, or like, or sort of like the complementary colors, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So sometimes it depends what's in a stock or like in the actor's closet, right? What you have to work with. So um yeah, but it's very, yeah, like that's, I usually do that on a truck. So that's how I spend my time. If I'm not shopping or in office doing fittings, then I'm in a costume track, basically doing the lineup and figuring out exactly who's going to wear what when.
Okay. So that's quite the job.
Oh no, like sometimes you just have to take a break
Yeah. Yeah. And you've
because,
got a team, right? Do you have a team?
well, I do have a team, but this is what I have to decide on.
This is your call.
Yeah, so I'm, like you're on a track and I'm just like there and figuring it out. And sometimes, like when we have these big scenes,
Hmm.
let's say what we had this year, right? Like certain costumes, I know what I wanted to
Yeah.
use. But if it's like, suddenly Lee's in a scene or, Bill is in a scene or even Florence or Molly or Faith, right? Like the ones which already have like much bigger closet, sometimes I say, okay, I did the lineup.
Yeah.
I need to have another look at it
Yeah.
because I might not like it.
Yeah.
Because you have one pass and then I'm just like, there is something wrong. Like I don't know what it is yet. I need to figure it out, right? So I give them the cost. Like I tell them, like the girls on the track, like you can use these costumes. You can, because they have to do their program as well. So they have to put all the items which we are using in the program. And then for the continuity reasons. So yeah, it's quite a long process, which you don't really see, but it's lots of in my head figuring things out.
So I'm thinking of even some different costumes. Like this season, we have Edie who's came on, and she's a new character, and we see her the other day riding a horse in pants. And so how does it happen when does it get to you and you decide she's going to wear pants in this scene? Is there a collaboration that goes on? This is who she is. What does that look like when you're trying to decide? Because as we make that transition into the 20s and things, hemlines come up, we're in pants more often. How does that kind of evolve with new characters or even new seasons?
I mean, for Edie, I don't know why would she wear a skirt. It definitely made sense for her to wear pants. Like she is not somebody who will be wearing one of her, beautiful suit skirts on a
Yeah,
horse. So,
yeah, yeah,
and that's her style, right?
yeah,
So riding skirts for her, I don't think that would really work.
yeah.
Um, so she ended up in pants, which is funny because one of the pairs is from Banana Republic. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is like, perfect. Um, and yeah, it's the brownish pair.
Yes.
And like the cat is basically again, like it's like from 1920s.
Yeah.
So that was really, really lucky found, and we actually had that one for a bit too. We
Okay.
just didn't have a person to put it in or wear it. Actually, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Um, and then for Elizabeth, let's say if she's riding on a horse, Erin does prefer the skirts.
Okay.
So, and also I think it works for the character. The only thing is that there is riding skirts and there is skirts she cannot ride in.
Yeah.
And we have two riding skirts right now, which are like 1920s length. But there was basically like Erin knows how to ride in a skirt.
Mhm.
But if you have a stand-double and if they are not used to the length of the skirt and then they're really going really fast, um, the skirt had to be pinned because it didn't want to do what it was supposed to do. And then I think there is maybe in some other episode, which is coming up, Elizabeth is going to wear like a green riding skirt, which we recut from previous seasons.
Hmm.
And we actually made for the stand double, it's actually longer.
Oh, okay.
And stunt doesn't mean that, like she has a stunt going on. It's more just like sometimes when they are riding on a horse for safety reasons, they have to have a double on a horse.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so just for the sake of not doing what happened with the first skirt, we basically made it longer, just that because the skirt just wanted to go up, right?
Yeah.
And then also we added like a triangle at the back, just that it has more volume. But then when you would see Elizabeth, walking in town, she basically doesn't have the triangle on her skirt, which is like a hero skirt. So you kind of have to cheat certain things.
So
Yeah.
you've talked about that sometimes you're buying the fabric, you see it, it's a great fabric, you know you're going to use it because the fabric is often. And then other times because of the scene, it's going to require like a very distinct, like you already know what that's going to look like. An example of that I imagine would be Nathan in a white tux who's getting ready to go undercover. So is that something that was like delivered to you? He needs to be in a white cover, a white tuxedo, or was that your idea?
Actually, it wasn't.
Okay.
Originally, he was supposed to be in a suit.
Okay.
So in my mind, when we first discussed it with the team, it was supposed to be pinstripe suit, or that was something what I had in my mind because it would be different from what he normally wears
Mhm.
in a dark color. And then Kevin actually sent me a picture of the white dinner jacket that he would like to wear something like that, and I'm just like, okay, great. So then we had to go down the approval chain and
Mhm.
make sure that everybody is okay with it.
Yeah.
So it was, including like the camera because, it's white and, it will be a number of scenes. So we had to talk to our DOP. Then we had to talk to the people at Hallmark. We had to talk to our showrunner. So everybody had to be on a board just because it was something so different
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
what we normally do. And then we had to find it. So it was actually a rental, and they had on, I think they had two in Kevin's size, and one was like very white and the other one was off white, and we used the one which was off white, which was perfect for us, and
Yeah.
it just had like the nice ivory color, I would say,
Mhm.
which is perfect for the period too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and it worked out great.
With sleeves that were long enough, right?
Yeah, we didn't have to do anything with it.
That's amazing. Well, it
Yeah.
looks sharp. It looks sharp on screen, so I'm glad that it all worked out.
Yeah, I was a little worried that we will not be able to find the right one, but we were lucky that the rental actually house in Vancouver had one, which
Yeah.
worked.
That's awesome. Okay, so is there anything, and I know you can't spoil anything that's coming up, but do you have a favorite or favorites this season? Because I know we've got a lot more glamour and glitz coming up, but is there anything this season that immediately stands out to you as a favorite?
There's so many costumes this season that that's kind of hard to probably, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's so much work behind all the costumes. Like sometimes I just wish that, certain character would be in more, that we can, use more of their
Use it
closet.
more. Yeah.
Um, but I don't think I have like yeah, I don't think I have a favorite. There is definitely a scene coming up, which we reused some pieces from previous seasons, which I was really happy about because that's something what I was hoping to do. So I was really glad that it got approved and everybody was on a board and it worked out at the end. So I think Harji's will like that one.
Okay.
Um, I don't know which episode it is right now though.
We're on 5.
Yeah, but I don't, all the scripts just
Yes.
in my head are just
All
like
comes together,
all
right?
together,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So this season has introduced several new characters. We've got Oliver, we have Edie, we've got Wyatt, Ava, and we're going to soon have Georgie with us. So how do you approach designing costumes for new arrivals in Hope Valley? Is that process different than somebody who's a recurring or regular character on the show?
It's definitely, if it's a new character, definitely it's different process, right? Because they have nothing in their closets yet. So, I mean, the first thing is it starts with a script. So, how is this character described in a script? And any little, hints about the wardrobe or where the character is coming from or what's the story behind the character, any little details like that. And then we have a meeting. So, we have a costume meeting with the director and the producers or people from Hallmark, or anybody who wants to have any input on it, our showrunner. And yeah, we just discussed, any details they might have about this character. We also chat about this character. How long is this person going to stay on a
Mhm.
show? So
Mhm.
it's something which I started to asking because you never know, like if it's just like a one-off or if they might come back or, if they're staying with us for a while, it definitely matters. Obviously, you don't really have the story for all the episodes they are in, but like it's definitely important. Like say like for Oliver, right? Like he's with us for quite a while. So when I'm doing fitting with him, at least I know okay, he will need more clothes than just his uniform, right? So and it's something which I like to do at our first fitting to make sure that if they are coming back for more episodes that we will have more costumes for them to be dressed in just because the show as soon as we start shooting it's just so quick you don't really have time to go back to every character for every scene and
Yeah.
all these multiple fittings for everybody so like yeah it's like as soon as we know they're staying we try to do the regular wardrobe but let's say as soon as it's like a party for for Ellie and we know oh Oliver is going to be there and Wyatt is going to be there but we didn't know that originally that's a special wardrobe so we fit them again right so that's something which I wouldn't fit in my original fitting because I would never know they need something fancy.
Right.
So and then yeah, like for Eva, I don't think she was introduced yet, right?
She was just on.
She was just on.
Yes.
So yeah, so there was like lots of backstory for her character, which kind of changed over the time how the script were developing. So so she was a little bit trickier than, let's say, Edie. Edie was very straightforward for me, but Eva was kind of one of those characters which I didn't exactly know where is she going to go next episode.
Okay.
And also we only knew about her like how she, is coming to town. So she has nothing. And, there was a
Right.
scene where she's actually buying a dress and you see her buying a dress, which meant for us we needed two dresses which look like Hope Valley dresses.
Got it.
But in that sense, if she's buying two dresses, we need one which, is the original one and the second one which we reconstruct for her. But it had to have like a Hope Valley feel because as much as she's, out of town person, she's buying something in Hope Valley. So
Right.
we would have, her style there. So yeah, but then, like sometimes as soon as we start shooting, it's just so quick. Like it almost feels like you don't have enough time to sew
Yeah. Yeah.
for everything what you would even want to make.
Yeah.
And then Edie, like her style, I was just like, it's just funny because as I said before, like I collect stuff before we start shooting, or I mean, even prepping the show.
Yeah.
So if I know that there is, we are doing another season and I'm going to be designing it, and I see something in a store, I buy it
Yeah.
because I know it will not be there. And there were a few instances, especially for Edie character, that, like the blue pinstripe suit and then the white one. Yeah, it was just like lucky finds, and I knew what we can do with them. It just was a matter of the fact what will be this character, if there will be that character.
Yeah. Take
That's
a
another,
chance. Take a chance.
right? But like, like, so then you are really looking at the price, right? Like, we are like, okay, this is good price, like it's not something, too high for us. So, we can find a home for it somehow, somewhere. But yeah, but it just worked out because otherwise she would honestly, like, she would not have that wardrobe.
Right.
So
Because you started early, because you took the chance to
yeah,
do it early.
yeah, for her, yeah, I took it. Yeah, like the white one, we already were prepping Van Calls
Yeah.
the Heart. And,
Mhm.
it's something which actually, if you would want to Faith to have a different style, she could wear it later on, right?
Yeah.
But there has to be also like a storyline why she suddenly changed the style,
Mhm.
that cannot
Mhm.
just randomly appear,
Mhm.
right?
Elizabeth raising her hemlines, right?
Yeah, so yeah, so we'll see what happens next, I guess.
So is that then different than your characters who are, your key characters or your recurring characters who are on um, that
Yeah, I mean,
process?
for the recurring characters, okay, let's say if it's somebody who is not our regular,
Hmm.
and it's the same actor, it really depends if the sizing changes.
Okay.
Right? So, and also how many seasons we didn't see somebody. Because let's say if they would want to bring certain family members of our regulars, I keep those costumes
Got it.
because they have family member on a show. So there can be a potential that, let's say Jed, like he might come back. So you have his closet. And he's just an example, right? But like, and then you elaborate on that closet based on what is needed for the script. But if it's somebody, like maybe 5 seasons back, that that closet doesn't exist and we are recycling it and reusing it for somebody else,
Yeah.
right? So
Okay.
um, we still have Katie Yost wardrobe, but I'm already looking at it like, if she's not coming back or who knows what they write, like maybe it's time to like
Yeah.
chop this up. And
Yeah.
when she comes back, then she will just get all new wardrobe, right? Like you
It's
never
the
know, right?
20s.
So
It's the 20s, right? She's moved
yeah,
on.
so I mean, but there is just like there's so much potential in the closets we already developed for the characters which are not, regular on a show. It's almost kind of like a waste not to altered or updated for
Right,
1920s.
right. So speaking of that, like how do you balance, the rustic feel in Hope Valley versus this, we're in the 1921 now, and there's this vibe that's starting to seep into Hope Valley, or so many of our characters are going outside of Hope Valley. So how do you balance those two different types of styles of costuming?
Well, I mean, everybody who is basically new and coming to Hope Valley outside of the city, I mean, from the city, then obviously they're more modern or towards the time we are in, right?
Yeah,
Then when it comes to our regular characters, um, yeah, like we are in 1921. We will go towards 1922 over this season 12.
yeah,
So, but like there is not really a style shift there yet.
okay,
It really comes later. But we are also a little bit ahead of with certain things. So there has to be just, I would call it like a compromise. Let's say for the party, so Gatsby Party, right? So we knew that it was going to be a party. If let's say I would go based on 1920, 21 costumes, I would probably do something different for, our background or, but I kind of had a feeling what Hallmark was looking for. So I kind of picked few pictures of the dresses I found and I was like, is this the look you want?
mm, got
And
it.
as soon as I knew that's the look you want or they wanted, then I knew that, let's say, what I would originally plan to build wouldn't work, right? And it's fine, right? Because it's just different styles, right? Like, um, so, so for the party, if then I knew like what they want, but also, the hemlines were a little bit shorter, so we had to make them longer, which meant basically all the ladies in the party had to have a certain length because otherwise it would be historically inappropriate for our period, right?
Right.
So we can still do like, glitzy 20s or, like beading and, tassels and everything, or fringes, actually, that's the better word to
Yeah.
put it. But yeah, I just wanted to make it as close to the our time as possible with the look Hallmark was looking for.
Got it. Okay. So, what can you tell us about the costume that you're most proud of this season?
Um, I'm not really sure if I'm most proud of it, but it was one thing which was definitely probably the most challenging, I
Okay.
would say, this year. And that was a Elizabeth dress for the party
Okay.
because also we were ordering dresses for it and the shipment almost didn't
Oh
arrive.
no.
So we ordered everything ahead of time as much as we possibly could, that it would arrive in timely manner. And like one of the shipments wasn't arriving and one of them was like late because it was basically, again, we were ordering dresses which we could reconstruct because that was, again, the fabric and
Yeah.
the beading and
Yeah.
everything. You cannot buy it in Vancouver. We tried to look. You cannot rent it in a Vancouver either. So yeah, so we kind of knew like all the ladies will, it will be reconstruction project for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I already started with backhouse because the shipment didn't arrive, but Erin basically tried every dress in her size to see which dress will fit her body type and the scene the best and which will be the most flattering. And
Hmm.
then we were figuring out like what to do with it, right? So but any dresses which are in that scene, she tried them on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to have the best one, right? So originally the dress she ended up wearing in a scene, it was meant for her, but there was a time when we were testing with a different dress, which actually didn't ended up on a screen at all because it would compete with her actual look, which she ended up in.
Right.
But it was this gold dress with lots of fringe, like it had lots of fringe, and it
Hmm.
was a beautiful dress. But somehow it just didn't keep working. We had like number of fittings, and then this dress she ended up wearing, we kind of nixed it at one point
Yeah.
because sometimes you just put it on and if you don't have the hair and makeup, especially for 1920 period, it just feels a little off.
Yeah.
And that dress, when we tried it on first time, felt off.
Hmm.
So we went with a different one. And then we were doing this one fitting, and before the fitting, Erin was just like, "Oh, do you have this dress still?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I gave it to a background to wear." So I'm like, "Okay." So I brought that dress, and then we looked at it again,
Hmm.
and it needed number of alterations. We added the beading.
Hmm.
So I basically took everything which she didn't try on yet because we were not really happy with the gold one. Um, the option which we never
Yeah.
see. Maybe we
Yeah.
will see at some point on somebody who
You
knows.
got it, right? You've got it.
But yeah, so that one I would say like I don't think I'm more proud of it. I'm just really happy it really worked out
It
and
all
everybody
worked out.
like was happy, and it's Hallmark was happy, showrunner was happy, like the director was happy, like everybody, and Erin was feeling comfortable and she was happy. So it was just like something which it took really long time to get there, but it worked out at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy about that one because yeah, that one needed a lot of alteration and my mom was just like, yeah, fixing it.
And you had another black tux. You have another tux in that scene as well, too.
Yeah. There was lots of black taxes in that scene.
Well, we're super excited for that one. So, okay. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. I want to thank you so much, Barbara, for taking some time to visit with us. We always love what you create and what you bring to the screen, and we're excited for the rest of the season and what lies ahead. So, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.